Hello everyone, what's going on? I'm Gareth the Master 974 back again today, and welcome to another Source Shorts video. And today I'm going to be going over how you can improve the prop sphere entity in your Source 2013 single player or multiplayer mod. Now, if you don't know what the prop sphere entity is, it is a model that's available in all Source Engine games, but it's basically a prop physics entity just with a perfectly spherical v-physics collision model. However, in its current state, it only has a radius of 12 units, and that's fixed, and stuff like surface properties and spawn flags don't work. Now, there's no instances of the prop sphere entity being used in any Source game as far as I can tell, as the tip in the Valve Developer Wiki page for the prop sphere entity says that the only spherical model in Half-Life 2 is the helicopter bomb. And in Portal, the weighted companion sphere is also a spherical model, but it doesn't use a prop sphere. They both use prop physics, technically, I guess, anyway. So in the current state, you can't really do anything with the prop sphere, so that's why this video is going to be going over how to do that. Also, if you go into the Hammer editor, you won't see the prop sphere, so you need to modify one of the FGD files to add that line of code, this block here, just to create the prop sphere entity so you can use it in the Hammer editor. Now, there is this guide on the Valve Developer Wiki talking about how to extend the prop sphere. However, this doesn't do a good enough job, at least in my estimation, and this fixes what's included with MapBase. So that is how I discovered issues with this in the first place, and that includes stuff like the surface properties and spawn flags not getting applied because it's in the C-physics prop create v-physics function, and that's getting replaced, not like called or anything. So yeah, if you know anything about coding stuff, then you know how bad that can be. So what I'm going to do is outline the changes that I made, and as it says here, if you want to extend the FGD, then just add radius into the FGD section. So let's get into where you need to go to actually make changes. So if you go to the single player code at least, you want to go to the server projects and find props.cpp. And in that file, you want to go to around line 5430. I've already got the project open up here, so I might as well load it up. So yeah, at around line 5430, you'll see the definition for C-Phys sphere. And I've already implemented some of the changes to the C-Phys sphere code based off of the Valve Developer Wiki guide that I just showed you. However, I'm going to be talking about some of the differences that have been added to make sure that the create v-physics function calls stuff like the spawn flags and the surface properties correctly. So if you'll notice, this is actually very similar, if not exactly the same, as the C-physics prop create v-physics function, and that's because it is. For the most part, I haven't really changed anything, although one thing to note is that for stuff like m_mass scale and m_inertia scale, that they need to be taken out of the private section of the C-physics prop class in props.h. So in props.h, around line 330, you get the C-physics prop class declaration, and you want to remove these 4 variables out of the private section that would be down here somewhere, and just put them in here instead. So that would be m_mass scale, m_inertia scale, m_damage to enable motion, and m_fl force to enable motion. Otherwise you'll get errors. So I thought I'd point that out. Anyway, so go through, and the real magic is set collision bounds minus vector m_f radius, vector m_f radius. This stuff sorts out the surface properties, that way you get the correct surface properties. I'm going to be using the weighted companion sphere from Portal to show you that this actually works. But the real magic is this line. So you create an iPhysics object asterisk pPhysics object, which equals phys_env arrow create sphere object of m_f radius, surface prop get abs origin, get abs angles, ampersand tmp solid.params, and false. Then if that object is valid, then v-physics set objects of p-physics object, that way the v-physics gets created correctly. Then set move type of move type v-physics, and if exclamation mark asleep, then wake, because as the wake function says, all objects are asleep when created. and then go through, and I think around here is a section talking about slicing of physics props, like what the saw blades in Half-Life 2 can do. But we don't really want spherical props to be doing that, so I just got rid of that section. But everything else is basically exactly the same as the CPhysics prop create vPhysics function. Oh yeah, I should mention as well, you do need to declare a data desk underneath declare class for CPhysSphere, and underneath the function outside of the class declaration, you also need to begin data desk of CPhysSphere, add define key field of m_f radius, field float, and in speech marks radius, and then end the data desk, and make sure you got the link entity to class of PropSphere and CPhysSphere as well. I'm fairly sure the Valve developer wiki guide about extending the PropSphere entity includes this stuff, but I thought I'd just point it out. So if you were to build and test this out, then you should see that the PropSphere entity now works, and you've got the adjustable radius because you've added the float m_f radius to the public section of the CPhysSphere declaration. Now, I know what some people are going to be suggesting. Is there a way that you can make this better? Like, for example, just calling base class create vPhysics, but then destroy the vPhysics object after the fact and create a new one with the spherical model you want? My answer is no, because you'll lose access to all of the spawn flags and surface properties stuff that you would have tried to create. So that's not a good idea. If you're hell-bent on using a PropSphere entity rather than a prop physics, there's probably one way that you can go about making this a bit better, which is to have a virtual function in the CPhysics prop class to return an iPhysics object asterisk, and then in, say, the CPhysics prop, you just do the normal vPhysics in its normal function to create the normal vPhysics object. But then for the PropSphere, you don't even need create vPhysics. All you would do is do that new virtual function. But inside of CPhysics prop, you'd need to, inside of the create vPhysics function, find that line that creates the iPhysics object asterisk and replace it with the function, making sure you pass through all the inputs correctly. And then for CPhysSphere, all you would do is create the overridden version of that function where you do the phys_env arrow create sphere object line instead. Sounds like a bit of a mouthful and a pain in the backside thing to do. I haven't tested that to see if it can work, so I'm probably going to say that's not possible. But if you want to use a prop physics instead, but have the option to make it spherical, then as we've done with the radius variable, we can define a key field, which then has to be added to stuff like the FGD files as whatever you put inside the speech marks to make it so you choose whether the model is spherical or not. And then the other option is using a spawn flag instead of a key field, but the same sort of concept applies. Anyway, I wanted to get that off my chest. Now you can go into testing to see if it works. And I'm not going to go into the complex process of describing how to get the weighted companion sphere model and surface properties from Portal into your source mod. That could be a separate source short in the future. But basically you should see that it's extra bouncy as it's supposed to be. And when you interact with geometry and stuff, the model makes the correct metallic sounds. And I'll probably show some of the footage of the extended PropSphere guide and how that really doesn't actually help with stuff like this. But yeah, everyone, that's what I have to say for this video. I know I've kind of rushed it and I've talked about all the changes and all that, and it's probably not a good video, but I just want to get this done because there's other stuff I want to be doing. And this was just something I said I wanted to get done before the end of April. And so yeah, I better get to editing this and getting it onto YouTube fast. So yeah, let me know what you think, and hopefully you'll check out the next video, hopefully tomorrow on the end of April, April 30th. But yeah, take care, peace out, see you later, have a great day, let me know what you think, if this helps out or not, and if this video gets to 50 likes, then I'll add the code to the GitHub page with a matter of urgency, but otherwise, you'll have to wait a bit for the code to be updated on the GitHub. But yeah, thanks for watching, check out another video, take care guys.